Cars.com creates connections that fuel your growth across the 4 P's of automotive marketing: product, price, place, and person.
This is Automotive Industry News.
Hi, I'm Samantha Siebold, and welcome to a special edition of Automotive Industry News. Last month, independent automobile dealers traveled to Washington, D.C. for what is arguably the used car industry's most important event of the year. NIADA's 2018 National Policy Conference and Day on Capitol Hill brought independent dealers and industry partners from across the country to the nation's capital to make the voice of the used car industry and small business heard among America's policymakers. In its 6th year in Washington, more than 200 attendees held a record 120-plus meetings with members of the Senate and House of Representatives or their legislative staff. That's a clear indication of how much the NPC has grown since 2013 and of NIADA's presence among federal legislators and regulators. Keeping the presence strong and widening the industry's footprint in Washington is why it's important for NIADA to keep coming back.
Issues impacting the independent dealer are always changing. We need to continue to have a voice and a presence in Washington if we're going to make those issues known to the folks that regulate us, that pass legislation, that impact us. There's an old saying in Washington, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, and we certainly don't want to be on the menu. They need to understand what they're doing and how it impacts us. Members of Congress and their staffs are spread so thin. They have so many issues that they have to deal with on a given day that they just don't have the ability to develop a deep understanding of all of the issues in all of the markets that come before them. So if we're not here to educate them, they're going to pass legislation not understanding the ramifications that it would have, positive or negative, on our industry.
Before the legislative and regulatory activity began, meetings were held for NIADA's national and state-affiliated leaders to conduct association business. This included the Buy Here, Pay Here Commission and the Association Executives Council meeting. The Legislative and Regulatory Affairs Committee briefed attendees on what was to come, explaining NIADA's position on the latest issues facing our industry. Coming up, federal regulators pay a visit to the conference, and the coveted PAC Cup is awarded. We'll be right back.
Product, price, place, and person. These are the new 4 P's of automotive marketing. It all starts with your product and connecting it to consumers in the right moments to fuel connections. That's the new 4 P's of automotive marketing. That's Cars.com, your partner in growth.
Day 2 of the conference featured updates from regulatory agencies that oversee the used auto industry, allowing dealers to ask specific questions and voice their opinions. The speakers included representatives from the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, the Federal Trade Commission, and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. In addition, attendees heard from the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators and Randall Garden, who discussed last year's landmark tax reform legislation and what to expect with Tax Reform 2.0. That evening, attendees had their first encounter with legislators at the Friends of the Auto Industry Congressional Reception. During the rooftop reception with the Capitol Dome as the backdrop, dealers mingled with Congressman Roger Williams, John Carter of Texas, Mark Walker of North Carolina, Barry Loudermilk of Georgia, and Massachusetts Senate candidate Jeff Deal, all of whom are strong supporters of our industry.
You know, up here in Washington, things change so fast, and what you might think, well, that'll come around back next year, it doesn't. People change as ideas change, and it's important to continue to lobby, is the word we have up here, people for our industry. Our industry is always going to be under attack for whatever reason, so it's important that you're up here like you are, to remind me and my colleagues of how important the industry is, how many people we employ, the taxes we pay, the sales we generate in this country. So it's very important you're doing the right thing by being here.
The evening ended with the final moments of the PAC Cup competition as dealers and vendors from each of NIADA's 4 regions raced down to the wire to generate the most contributions. Led by Vice President Scott Allen, Region 3, the Midwest, won the Cup for the first time, breaking the Southeast's 4-year winning streak. More important though, more than $210,000 was raised for the PAC Fund, more than twice the previous record set a year earlier.
Product, price, place, and person. These are the new 4 P's of automotive marketing. It all starts with your product and connecting it to consumers in the right moments to fuel connections. That's the new 4 P's of automotive marketing. That's Cars.com, your partner in growth.
The highlight of the 2018 National Policy Conference, as always, was the Day on the Hill. 15 teams of dealers and industry partners swarmed Capitol Hill to meet the members of the Senate and the House of Representatives, or their legislative staff. They included teams representing NIADA's affiliated state associations from Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, Texas, Ohio, Florida, the Mid-Atlantic region, Colorado, Tennessee, and Virginia, visiting most of their state representatives and senators. The team members spoke about issues currently facing the used vehicle industry that are under consideration by Congress. Between those meetings, Representative Mike Kelly of Pennsylvania, a car dealer himself, spoke about the importance of the auto industry and being involved politically.
Well, there's an old saying that 90% of life is showing up, because when you show up, people know you care. I got to tell you, when you don't show up, that is a wonderful opportunity for people creating policy to say, well, nobody said anything negative about it. They just didn't show up, so I guess they're happy with everything. You got to show up. You got to articulate what it is that you're concerned with, the what, the why, and the how you can fix it. That's the key to everything that works in our form of government. So just being here and talking to their representatives, huge impact on how people look at policy and reflect on whether it's good policy or bad policy.
Being involved is what the National Policy Conference is all about, and it's an eye-opening experience for all of the attendees, whether it's their first time at the conference or if they've been to DC before.
It was more than what I expected. We got a chance to meet, or an opportunity to meet several of our legislators, and to hear the dialogue and the conversation they had. For the most part, a lot of them knew who we were and what we were there for, and they were very understanding and very intuitive in terms of our industry. So I think we made progress there. It is extremely important for dealers to come to Washington, but even more so than that, dealers need to go to their legislators when they're home to make sure that they are actually doing what we need or want done for us in Washington.
It's very exciting. It's very exciting to hear them listen to you. A lot of times when you hear politicians, they're speaking to you. When you come to Washington, they're listening to you. So it's very exciting to go there and have them listening to you and address your problems and hear your problems. And that makes a big difference.
The NIADA National Policy Conference once again brought more dealers to Washington than ever before and continued relationship building with the legislators. NIADA's reach in the nation's capital has allowed the association to advocate for the interests of the independent dealers in the used car industry.
I always enjoy to see the aha moment that legislators have when you explain to them what's important to you. And even if they are not necessarily on your side of the decision, they are able to explain to you, and you can react back and say, I understand what you're saying, but let me explain. As a small business in this industry, this is what's important for us. And if you need our support in general, this is what we need. This is our pain. This is where we feel that we can grow with your help, and we want to voice our opinion. So every year that we come here, I feel more and more comfortable. I feel more and more that this is our environment to voice our opinion, and it's welcomed.
It was amazing. You got to realize this is our 6th year up here. We are starting to make a serious impact up here. We met with legislators, we got together, we had a lot of roundtables. We're just making a difference up here, and if you want to make your voice heard, the legislators have to hear it. The way they hear it is for you to get up here. And you can do that at home with your local, your state, and your federal legislators. You can sit around and talk about it, but if they can't hear you, they don't know what you want and what you need.
Thank you for watching this special edition of Automotive Industry News. I'm Samantha Siebold.